Okay, so yesterday I did a video explaining a little bit about the things that happened to me in jail, and I was thinking about later about all the things that were happening on the outside um, while I was in jail. So another thing is that after you get to jail and all this stuff happens, and even a friend and I were laughing about this back in the fall. He's like, hey Jenny, if you want to do videos and do all these things, go for it, because at this point, what the fuck does it matter? You know what I mean? It's gone so far that at this point, you might as fucking well, What do you got to lose? Let's make some money if you can. And if not, maybe you'll help somebody. Meaning make some money, like turn this into a movie or documentary in the future or something. But I'm just really just trying to remember my experience, and because it's so fucked up and so crazy, I want to share it with others. So, okay. So, I told you guys, even though I took it down already just because of drama issues, but in Dr. Fishman's video, you guys know what happened there with the dog, the phone call, Jen showing up to my house. So, so basically, the police were looking for me. So, I had this like emergency hearing that I had missed because I never got a letter in the mail about it. I was arguing with my current divorce attorney. Apparently, the hearing was scheduled like on a Friday afternoon for Monday morning. And so then that happened, which was traumatizing. I went back to work the next week. It was like Monday morning. I worked from home. My friend Jen had brought me a coffee. And then I had to go into work. So I went into work. I started answering phones, and she looks up online like about my strangulation case, because it's always getting postponed. So when she left my house, she decided to check online again to see about the strangulation case, and she sees that I have new charges that I knew nothing about for wiretapping. So I'm like back in my house. Like, I had talked to a couple attorneys. I just figured as soon as I can pay somebody, it's only a matter of time to get my kids back, because these attorneys were saying this is completely ridiculous for this to happen. We can flip this. It should have never happened. We can reverse it. Blah 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 for $7,000. So I was already dealing with that for like a week and the trauma of that. So Jen calls and she's like, and I'm sitting there at my desk, at my kitchen table desk, and she's like, you got to get out of there now. She's like, there are warrants for your arrest for wiretapping. You better go now. Like, you could be arrested at any minute. I'm like, what? And I've never even heard the word wiretapping. I had no clue what I had done now. Even when I heard the word wiretapping, I did not connect it to recording in the treasurer's office. And so at that second, I just like literally grabbed my purse, grabbed my dog, and ran as fast as I could to my car, and I was out of there. And then I actually drove to Chicago, long story, and to see Joe, but I ended up turning around, going to Ohio. Under severe stress and panic, Jen started handling my affairs. I'm like, can you please call Ben and tell him I can't answer phones today? Can you please call this attorney who I've been talking to and tell her that, for my kids, and tell her that I've now been charged with or now have these wiretapping charges. All these things. So Jen is communicating with all these people, and all these people are tripping out, basically. And then she's trying to relay these messages. I'm like, just like driving like a fucking bat out of hell, scared to death, in total shock, no clue what's going on. I end up at my friend Beth's house in Yellow Springs, and she was trying to help me find an attorney. So basically, then it had came out in the news, like, first I was at Beth's house, and I get like an instant message on my Facebook, and it's from like a news reporter. Oh, and like a detective called me. A detective called me and like left me a message, and I'm like, I'm not calling this person back. So I sent my Uncle Brantley a message, who used to be a detective, and was like, will you call him? You can call him. Don't even tell me what he says. I don't even want to know what he says. I can't deal with this, but if you want to call him and talk to him for me, you can. He's probably like, what the hell? So then, so where was I? Okay, so the detective, and so then the reporter pops up on my instant messenger like, Jennifer, how does it, can you tell me how it feels to be charged with wiretapping? Can we talk on the phone? Da 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 da. And, which I ended up talking to him later, I think, and he added like my comment. But I was like, it's not about wiretapping, it's about getting this divorce and trying to move and blah blah blah. Move out of state and all these things. So then after that, Beth, I didn't respond to those people yet, and then Beth finds the news article online, and she brings it up on her computer, and she starts reading it out loud, and I literally, I just put, my fingers in my ears, my hearing, I didn't put my fingers in my ears, but that's what it felt like my hearing just left. She read to me, the first couple of sentences, and I was like, la la la, I cannot deal with this. Severe panic, and I went upstairs and put myself in her bathtub and was in the bathtub for a long time. We ended up getting a hold of Blaine Jones as an attorney. I tell him all this. He's like, I'm going to do it for publicity. Just give me $500 and da 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 da. Well, then, a couple of days later is when we find out that I also now have a warrant for the strangulation, too. So Blaine Jones was acting like I wouldn't have to go to jail for the wiretapping. We would have a press conference. Basically, the news were going to be there. I was going to turn myself in. I bought a dress for this, the whole thing. But then the strangulation came out, and he was like, well, shit, this really sucks because they've revoked your bond, and now I'm going to have to turn that around. So basically, you're going to have to go to jail for a while till I can get that turned around. And I was like, I cannot go to jail. You have to work this out. You told me you were going to work out the wiretapping where I didn't have to go to jail. You have to work it out, Blaine. So he was like, okay, I will. I'll work it out. Just lay low while I work it out. So I'm like, okay. So my laying low was not laying low, obviously. I was driving around, going all around the world and recording myself and posting it online. And the police were trying to find me, and the police were the police seriously had to be idiots to not be able to find me, because I was driving around and telling my whereabouts because I was in complete shock and I was having a fucking nervous breakdown over all of this. So that's when I technically go on the run, even though I was listening to my attorney to lay low while he worked it out. So I remember I was at the Mound Park, and I just did a video at the Mound, basically semi-homeless at the time. I was living out of my car because all my stuff was at my house. I had a house paid for 2 months even in advance. I always paid my rent ahead of time. Can't go to my house. Can't go to hardly any of my friends' houses because they think I could be arrested. I can't go to my my dad is like paranoid. He's worried I'm going to be arrested here. I remember Joe called me when I was sitting, okay, so Joe calls me when I'm sitting at the Mound Park, and this is one of my first videos, I think, um, like this, about this at least, and he was like, the police just called Ben, Ben is who I used to work for, and they're looking for you, and it's time that, you turn yourself in. And I was like so in shock and appalled, and I was just thinking, so then he was like trying to explain it further. He's like, Jen, you're a wanted fugitive. And I was like, how dare you call me such a thing? You know what I mean? How dare you call me a wanted fugitive? I am not such a thing. So I'm like, just stop. Stop calling me that. I'm not. My attorney's working it out, like, well, you need to call your attorney because the police are looking for you. So at that point, so then my friend Jen, this is later, actually. I think the police were still looking for me. So this could have been like 2 weeks later. I was really bad off then. I was really, really sick. I could barely breathe. I weighed like nothing, driving around. So my friend Jen texts me that the police were just at her house looking for me, and that the police also raided clinic looking for me, which is the clinic I should have been working at, but I wasn't at work because, yeah. So I just didn't believe it. I did not believe it, and, well, actually, first what happened was when she first, which my nail, I need a manicure. She first told me, she first texted me and told me that the police were there and looking for me at clinic, and came to her house looking for me. And I was driving, I had to pull over, and I actually felt like I had a heart attack. Like, I have never felt this way in my life, where I felt like my heart was like banging in my chest, like actually like jumping in my chest or something. And I had to pull over, and I sat there in this parking lot while this was going on. And then I like text Jen something like, you're lying. And, but later I got to hear the story. And so Jen, my poor friend Jen, who has really helped me so much, so she's at our house, and she's sitting there feeding her baby in her high chair. And she glances out her side window and sees like all these men in black. So the men in black were the police looking for me, and I don't know how they ended up at Jen's house, but they did. So she's one of my closest friends in Pittsburgh. So she sees these men in black. She didn't know if it was like the lawn guys or ninjas or what, but she, like, it threw her off. And so then they knock on their door, and they were looking for me and all of that. I'll have to interview Jen and have her tell that story. She tells it way better than I do. And then the cops were looking for me. And they were watching my YouTube videos. And actually, when I was in the cop car, like asleep, almost asleep, the YouTube video that I had just uploaded had just loaded up onto YouTube and started playing automatically on the cop's phone in my car. Or in his car. So I'm like asleep, and then I hear myself start talking on the cop's phone, and they were laughing about it. But so they were like watching all my videos. I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. I'm going here next. Blah blah blah. Because yeah. Apparently, that's what people like me do when things like this happen. So, then I went to jail, and my landlord, so D. Caesar, whoever he is there in Murraysville, that huge D. Caesar sign, Ted D. Caesar, he, was my landlord, but Barb was the property manager. So like I said, my rent was paid 2 months in advance. Jen was trying to A, sell some of my stuff, B, get a storage unit, well, and also let my kids come back in and try to get as much stuff as they wanted, but they only sent my oldest son, so my oldest son came and got as much stuff as he could, and so my kids lost a lot of stuff too. Well, then the landlord knows, like, all about my situation 100%. My strangulation came up on my background check when she ran my background check. She knows everything. Um, and so she just kicked me while I was down, and she got a fucking dumpster while Jen was working on selling and putting all my stuff into storage. And I had a lot of nice stuff. We had all organic beds, nice furniture, expensive things, things that cannot be replaced. And she got a dumpster 3 weeks after I'd been gone, just 3 weeks, not even, I mean, I used to be a property manager, I used to work in the apartment business. There's a protocol that you have to go through, you have to legally evict someone, you can't just fucking get a dumpster one day because you haven't heard from them in 3 weeks and throw all of their fucking shit in a dumpster. Well, that's what she did. Ted DeCaesar's office there in Murraysville. He has refused to return any of my phone calls. I don't even think maybe Barb has told him, because I feel like Barb is not telling him. So I'm telling Barb, and she's telling me she's telling Ted, and that Ted doesn't want to talk, and Ted's not returning my calls. So I guess I technically can sue them, but it's just another thing to add to my list. So yeah. So all my stuff got thrown away for the most part, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of my things, while I was in jail. And my dad came and he was trying to help manage my stuff too, and he is not good at that. So basically, he put a sign out front that said, like, estate sale, and went around and put post-it notes on everything for, like, free. And, like, people came, not many, but I guess people came, and they're, like, looking around, like, at my family pictures, and, like, obviously, like, this isn't someone who died. Where did this family go? And so no one bought anything or took anything from the estate sale. But so yeah, so I think that is about it for things that were going on. Oh, and then there was all kinds of drama trying to get me an attorney and get me out of jail. And Jen and Laura, and my dad were basically like the backbones of getting that done for me and getting me out of jail. And I'm sure there's more, and especially with my kids, which is just heartbreaking to talk about. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the other side of me being on the run, which I was just following my attorney's advice.